the BC Supreme Court judge ruled that Indigenous rights sit above fee simple and above Crown rights to the property. It sets a precedent that every single home that has a land claim against it or future land claim against it from First Nations would be forfeited to the First Nations. Basically setting the rule that even above the government of Canada, the Indigenous folks have the right to your land ahead of them.
Are you saying that people that own their land don't like the fact that it's being potentially taken away from them?
Let's not construe this with, racism or other stuff or prejudices or anything like that. This is just a fundamental change to the way our society works. And if it stands, I don't know. I don't know what could happen. It would be terrible.
Welcome to the Tom Storey Show with Steve Karrasch and Tom Storey, where we discuss everything real estate or whatever else is on our minds.
Welcome back.
Ready when you are, Tom.
Okay, well, I'm ready. Welcome back to the Tom Storey Show, the #1 Canadian real estate podcast that comes out on Sundays at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, hosted by Tom and Steve. We appreciate you being back here. This channel continues to grow, Steve, and it's been really, really cool to see. So if you are showing up every week and you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, we would appreciate that. It is free, and it fills our egos with lots of joy as those numbers continue to go up. I said I would not complain ever this summer about the heat because the winters in Toronto are just so horrible. But the last 2 days I've thought about complaining. It is so humid here, Steve. Are you getting the same thing out west, or is it reasonable right now?
No, we do have some smoke coming over from the island now, but
Right.
It's been nice. It's been hot. But can I say something? I saw a CBC weather report, and the hysteria around the heat back east right now is crazy because they were like, it's record-setting temperatures, and they show like from Toronto to Halifax on the map.
Yeah.
And they're like, one of the records set was 28 degrees in August. The other one was 31 degrees. And I'm like, please don't talk about excessive heat until you hit over 35, 36 degrees.
That doesn't seem, well, because it's the feels like number.
Feels like, yeah, okay. Feels like, get out of here. But it's not.
Do you think, is the weather inflation adjusted, Steve?
No, I tell you what they have done in all of the climate hysteria that we have is now when you look at when they show the temperatures, they'll have like the colors. So it'll be like whatever, below freezing will be white and then blue and it goes up. Well, now the yellow starts at 15 degrees. So it's like the yellow used to start at over 27 degrees.
Right.
So it's just
moved it down.
The CBC hysteria of climate.
Is it
action.
CBC? You seem to watch the CBC a lot for a guy that complains about it.
You have to know what not to believe.
We took our team to the Toronto Island earlier this week to do a little team bonding day. And Ricky Gervais was on the island that day, and I was trying to find him. He had posted that he was on the ferry over, couldn't find him, but had a lot of fun. And Jays are good. Jays are good right now, which is great. Also, shout out Bob McCowan today. And what should we talk about? Because we got a lot we got to cover today.
Well, speaking of islands, there's some controversy in real estate with an island here in the Lower Mainland, so we should probably get to that a little later on.
Okay, I'm happy to. So we're going to do things slightly different today. We've been running this show now for what? Has it been 3 years? Yeah, 3 years.
More than 3 years.
More than 3 years. More than 3 years. And when we have a guest, we do it differently because we ask them questions. But when it's a me and Steve episode, we kind of just talk and see where it goes, right? And there's little bits of structure, but we've been doing this long enough now that I feel like it's time to at least try something new. And I'd love to know your feedback in this episode, how you like the style of us doing this episode, where we've actually done some research, shocking, that we have a bunch of predetermined topics that we're going to go over today. We're going to talk about. And for every topic, I'd like you to get involved in the comments and let us know what you think. But just before we get started with the new kind of way we're going to run the show today, Steve, you were on vacation. Did you enjoy it? Did you have fun? You don't want to work anymore? Is it early retirement? What's going on?
It was fantastic. It was unreal. The storms that roll through 100 Mile House are phenomenal.
Yeah.
So like it's always like broken up weather. Like in Vancouver, it's like gray or sun, nothing in the middle, like all day.
Mhm.
So they had a lot of rolling storms that come in the afternoon. You can see the lightning coming from like 10, 13 miles away, 10 to 15 miles away. I don't know why I said 13. And the cool part was no fire ban. So my kids, niece, nephew, everybody was out there and they were making fires and they were loving every second of it. I did realize though that the young kids don't understand campfires because I told them to all go find roasting sticks, and you should have seen what they come back with. My niece comes back with like a stick that's like this long and like this fat, and then one of the other kids that was with us comes back with one that's like 3 inches in radius, and then it's probably 4 feet long. And I'm like, guys, you don't even know what roasting sticks are. All right, we have failed as a society in Canada. This is
well, you can now you can just buy the sticks now,
those.
right?
That's
You can
that's
use
what they
those
have.
ones. All right. Well, I'm glad that you had fun, Steve. I hope everyone is enjoying the summer so far. But let's
How about you? Hang on. How about you?
I took a week off. Well, I say week off. I was working the whole time, but I was physically somewhere else. Just went to the cottage for a week for my birthday week and shut down a little bit. Had a wildly successful week, actually, like business wise. The team really stepped up and helped when I was gone. But I'll be honest with you, I needed it. You probably noticed some of the recent podcasts. I was in a different location. I was at the cottage just trying to actually, it's not even so much like the time off. It's just it's the energy in the brain changing to like relax it a little bit. And there was one day on my birthday that I woke up and I had this like sense of calmness. I don't know why it happened that day where I was just like, oh yeah, like I got 2 offers on properties on my birthday and I was still working but I was just like, yeah, whatever. Like, why am I stressing out over this? So
yeah, when I got to the campsite, it was we pull into the campsite, check in, the phone went in the glove box, and then I didn't pull the phone back out of the glove box until we were packing to leave. So
I will say you are one of the only people I know that can successfully turn your phone off, have your business covered. I can't do that. I can't.
You choose not to. Let's
it's
proceed
a good
with
point.
the show, Tom Storey. You choose not
All
to.
right. Topic number 1. I don't know if you heard, Steve, but there's been a lot of chatter here, at least in Toronto, that we had the best July that we've had since 2021. Now, the years since 2021 haven't exactly been great years in terms of what's been happening in those summer months, but we did have the most amount of sales ever in a July going back to 2021. Now, if you actually take a look at the data for the Greater Toronto area, for all the TREB board, what they cover, the sales was 6,100 in July versus like last year, July, 5,800, the year before 57, 54, and then the 2021 number was like 9,300 sales, which is never going to happen again for a long, long time. I think normally, if you look back further than that, I think probably like 7,000, 7,500 would be more in line with what like we would normally see in a market without all the uncertainty going on. But I will say, reading through that market report was the first time in almost 2 years, really, looking at the monthly data, being like, oh, I have something I can talk about in my video that is not just it got worse.
Yeah.
Now, saying that, there's a few things that happen. So sales went up. And when I keep saying this to people, and I feel like when I say it, I'm just like, I'm oversimplifying it so much that it's not getting through. But we've had enough inventory this entire year to have a lot of sales if the absorption rate was there and the demand was there and we were agreeing on prices. Like, we've had no issue with the product being available to have more sales, but we continuously have not had more sales. This is the first month in a long time that I've started to see more sales are happening because buyers and sellers are agreeing on value. And again, when I say that out loud, it's like, yeah, no shit, Tom. Like, that's how sales come together.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure that's the job.
That's the job. But isn't that now the first sign of like, okay, more sales happen because prices came down? And we'll get to that next. The prices continue to come down, but more sales were happening because Not so much that just the buyer was finally at the price that they wanted to pay, because the buyers have been at the price they wanted to pay for a little while now. Right? They're sticking their foot down in the sand and saying like, this is our offer, take it or leave it. Mm-hmm. It's now that the sellers are actually starting to be like, okay, fine, I'll take it. And that's, I think, the biggest thing with the sales numbers going up. It's not that prices went up. It's not that, yes, inventory did drop, but it was just because we had a ton of terminations where people took their property off, at the end of July because you were either just giving up, they're going to rent it out. They just decided they cannot get their price. They're not coming back to the market. Or what we'll have to watch to see what happens is, are they going to relist that property in September after Labor Day? Are we just going to get a flood of all the inventory back? So sales were up, prices were down, inventory was down, but it's not that inventory was down because sales were up so much. It was because a lot of terminations happened, which brought that overall inventory down. The final thing I want to say to the city of Toronto, well, not to the city of Toronto, but about the city of Toronto, is we did have more sales in June than we had in July. Okay. So it did drop off a little bit in July, but Steve, we had more sales in July this year than we had in April. That's not normal. And that's not saying July was that great. It's just saying like how bad and low volume April was. And now it's going to be interesting to see, are the August numbers going to show on a year over year basis that transactions were up again? What inventory is going to come back to the market after Labor Day? But Steve, I'd love to know what you think about the Toronto numbers. And then for your market, did you see it similar in the numbers that came out for July?
Well, I think it's proving how much the tariff stuff really did affect the mindset of people. Yeah. Right. So March, April, May particularly March and April were super, super slow for you guys. For us too. It's definitely not been a great year. We're not seeing the bounce back. We haven't had all of the major companies put out big publications about the market being so wonderful again, like I've seen coming out of Toronto this week, which is hilarious.
It's industry spin too, by the way. Like, sales are
I'm
only
sure
happening because prices are going down.
I'm sure Royal LePage put out their report immediately trying to be like, yes, this is it. But, we need to be more muted than that. I will say like this sorry, let me get back to what you said. Like ours is very constant. I've noticed like a lot of our listings versus last year and our listings versus last month have been very much the same. So we are still quite slow. Our inventory is coming off, thankfully, and it likely will do so for the rest of the year. I do feel like this year is more like 2019 than any other year I've experienced. And that was a downward slide of the whole year. People were not happy. Interest rates went up then. I guess they went up in 2018 then anyway. But the first 3 quarters of 2019 were abysmal and my worst year in the business. And this is very close to those numbers as well. So the crazy part is before COVID hit, the beginning of 2020 was insane. Like it was warming up to be like, we came out of this.
Yeah, right? It started hot.
So how does that then resemble this year? We're going to find out, but I wouldn't be shocked to see coming out of very, very low sales numbers to feel like a very busy market for a lot of people. And it will probably be average by the end of the year. All right. And we'll probably come out of it. So I don't think anybody in Toronto should be rejoicing yet. And then there's always the psyche of the consumer that's listening, or maybe realtors as well. When they hear, the market's picking up, they think prices have returned, and that's a totally different thing.
It's actually only picking up sales wise because prices have dropped. Like I think,
which I think is a great thing.
Right.
Right. For the overall market, that's a fantastic thing.
I think have you noticed? Because what was interesting when the July numbers came out, I did a ton of media stuff on that. Like every news station called me. I must have been the only one that picked up my phone in early August. But I was talking to other agents in my office. I'm like, did you think this was coming? Because like, did you feel it in your business that more things were coming together? And we had a fairly strong July with our team. Like I was happy with it, but I didn't think like, oh, these numbers are gonna be better than last July or the year before. I didn't, or we're gonna have the most amount of sales or more sales in July than we had in April. I didn't feel that. Like, did you feel any shifts in actually the day-to-day of your business, or just when the numbers came out?
No, it feels pretty slow. I'm doing lots of evaluations though right now, like lots of evaluations.
Yep, same.
So the listing side, and it's the same talk everywhere. Like, hey guys, you're probably not going to like this number. If you're going to make it up, you're going to make it up on the other side. Thankfully, a good majority of them are not peak buyers, or if they were peak buyers, they bought in good product that's not down much. Right. A lot of them are earlier than that buyers. And so they're like, well, I don't care. I mean, I don't know. It's still double from what I paid for it. So they're still happy. Right. It's like, I did meet a guy this week who's a peak buyer, and he bought a house that, I mean, it could be a good house, but it's not in the best shape. And for what he paid for it, I think he could actually get more than what he paid for it in 2022.
Really?
But they've let it kind of go. And I'm like, this is not the type of property that will sell in this market. Like, you gotta fix it all up. This isn't like, hey, come on in, take a look. Like I said, if you want to sell it in this current condition, right, you probably need to drop the price 6 figures. And if you had it show ready, let's call it an 8 or above, I think you're going to get more than you paid for it. And I just don't know the desire to do that work in order to get it ready.
Hey agents, you know that a clean and crisp real estate website is a must for your business. To start your free site right now, go to realtyninja.com/Tom, and you will pay absolutely nothing until your site is ready to launch. And then when you are ready to launch your brand new site, you will save 20% off your entire first year just by going to realtyninja.com/Tom. So what are you waiting for? Get a beautiful real estate website for your business right now at realtyninja.com/Tom.
One of the things that I had looked back, like our online booking tool is how a lot of people that find us on the podcast or our main channels will reach out to me and Steve for our different markets for our teams to help them. And I was just curious. I went back when the numbers came out for July. I was like, okay, that's interesting that sales were up a little bit from what at least we were used to. But did we actually talk to more buyers? Were we starting conversations? And I went back in the last 30 days of July, I had 17 appointments from new buyers that had, like, they're not all going to buy. They haven't, I think only a few have actually purchased so far. But it was one of our busiest months. And the reason why I'm saying that is because I look back at the June data that we had coming in just for our specific team, just what we're doing. And mostly it was sellers reaching out to me. But now buyers. Okay, so that's interesting on that side. And then you have, I'm going to do an evaluation this afternoon, but I already spoke with them and they seem on the same page. And another one on Friday where I spoke to both of these people probably 6 months ago. And these are both condos, good floor plan, not investor product condos that will move at the right price. And both of them, like 6 months ago, were like, no, we don't want to sell for that price. Now they both reached out again, and the price is lower now. But they're both like, okay, we get it. We're open to it now, even though the price is lower. So sellers being more realistic versus buyers starting to notice that they're more okay with the prices, at least in the sales data, is something that we are seeing. But we would love to know from you guys, if you're watching on YouTube today, let us know in the comments if you are an active buyer, if you bought something recently, if you're a seller, if you've seen any changes in your home search and your property being on the market. We'd love to know what you guys are seeing. Okay, so with Toronto and Surrey down for July, I want to talk about property type specific here. Condos. Condos is like the new thing where if you talk about it on the internet, Steve, you can just get tons of views. It's like the new thing. It used to be like mortgage renewal cliff. There was all these different things. Now condos in a video title is what gets you the views. The Toronto condo market is a totally separate conversation from the housing market, at least in my opinion. It's its own thing. And to just give people a little bit of an update on what actually happened in the July numbers for the condos, prices went down. Okay. It was the lowest average sale price condo month we've had in 4 years. Now, that shouldn't be that surprising because I've been saying for a while on this podcast that every condo I'm selling in 2025 is roughly about what I was selling them for in 2019. So I would actually argue you could go back a little bit further for like the average. But if you look at the benchmark price, it's very clear on what's going on. But the one key difference with the condos is they did the thing that the rest of the market did, is the inventory dropped because of terminations. There was more sales, but I took a look just for the city of Toronto every single month so far this year, the first 7 months that we've had data on. And every single month, Steve, condo sales went up every single month. They didn't drop. July was the most amount of condo sales that we've seen in any month going back to the beginning of this year. So I think same thing like the general market. We're building. If August does more sales than July, it's like, okay, there's something going on here that prices will probably continue to drop, but we're finding values. Are you seeing any difference in your condo market right now? Because the condos in Toronto, when I'm talking about the Toronto real estate market, 70% of everything I'm telling you on the market right now is a condo. So it is just a large chunk of all of our active inventory. Are you seeing the same thing?
No, not at all. Everything we're selling right now is pretty much condos and or townhouses. I don't have a lot of detached. All this year, I haven't had a lot of detached, and I think thankfully so. Even though the price point's higher, and I would make more money, some areas are like our Surrey City Centre, which is the flood of investor condos, like the downtown Toronto style. It's at something like 15 or 16 months of supply for condos, right? Like it's rough. And then you do detached in that area and it's like 32 months of supply. So it's now not many people, that's like usually these things are being torn down and assembled. And so it's kind of a different market, but our detached market is often in 13 to 15 months of supply. And a lot of our condos are 10 and our townhouses are like 7 across most of our markets. So we're buyers all over, except our condos seem to be the affordable thing and they are turning over. I will say though, that is broken down. So the 1-bed condos and the small condos are having the toughest time.
Sounds about right.
And then, the 2 and 3 beds are doing okay if they're priced right. The townhouses are doing okay if they're priced right. And then the detached, anything over entry level, which is probably 1.2, 1.3 now, is starting to struggle more and more and more. So detached is not exactly where you want to be right now. I just put a video out just before I went on vacation on my channel about detached disaster. Pretty good one. And, it's 10,000 views. People are interested in the detached market to see what's going on. It was a heck of a lot better than the townhouse or condo ones that I put out. So
there seems to be though, like this value where you change from, you had mentioned like the more affordable stuff is still moving, but the most affordable, at least in terms of like price, is probably the smaller units, which are still, so it's not even like the most affordable is moving, the slightly more affordable is moving, but it's not just the cheapest stuff sells. It's the product first. And then if they deem it to be valued appropriately, then that section of the market will at least see some transactions. That seems to be what's happening here as well. Like we have a bunch of people that are looking for 2 bedrooms with water views right now. And they're saying to us, like, there's nothing good to buy. I'm like, we've never had more condos on the market ever before. Well,
that's another problem though. Like we are seeing a ton of properties that are in disrepair and buyers are like, no. Yeah. And when the market was hot, they were like, okay, I'll take it and I'll deal with it. And now they're shutting it down. But I think like, a 1-bed condo in our market's gone from say 5.25 to 4.25. So now the 2-bed, 2-bath might be $550. So if you were previously in the price point for a 1-bed condo at 5.25 and you can get a 2-bed, 2-bath at double the square footage for $550, no wonder they're not looking. Nobody wants the 1-bed condo if they can afford a 2-bed condo. So I think that's likely. I mean, people's affordability, I don't think is changing that much.
But should it not be slightly changing because of lower rates and lower prices?
I don't know, man. Compared to peak, I don't know. It's really weird, right? Because you had at 6.5%, we had people willing to pay a lot more money for places than now at 3.8 whatever is there. I mean, the jobs report came out. That wasn't good.
No.
Looks like people are preparing for more cuts, maybe some cuts in the States finally.
Mhm.
And if that's the case, I don't know. I don't know how to make it all up. I just go
on.
Are you going to cut me off? You gonna cut me off?
No, I will never cut you off.
What are you going to do? Don't I look badass right now? I could take you down, except for you're 35,000 or 3,500 kilometers away. But other than that, you better watch out, Tom Storey. No, I just think it's all crazy. They're trying to make sense of this all is I will, but when I do,
you'll sit on me.
When I do, I will lay on top of you and put you in a arm triangle, and that'll be the end of Tom Storey. Okay, anyway, you've lost my train of thought.
What I was going to say, because you mentioned they might actually start dropping rates finally in the States. We have a lot of good friends in the real estate industry in America, and people that we've worked with before, and we see their social stuff, the things they're posting, what they're talking about. And I saw a post the other day that caught my attention that was basically like, if they could just get rates under 6% to 5.99, that would move the market. It's really interesting to see, like, they're just playing a whole different game right now. Their rates are still over 6%. They were in the 7s for a while. And at least the talking points coming out of the thought leaders in the American real estate industry are just get them under 6, and that's what will motivate buyers to move. Where we're so much lower than that.
So we just need them under 3.5.
Right.
Come on.
So it's interesting. It's interesting to see that. But let us know what you guys think about what you're seeing with the condo volume, whatever market you are watching from, because the inventory is still high. It's still a buyer's market. There will still be, at least for the next little while, based on inventory levels that are holding for the smaller product, it will continue to probably lose value. But the bigger stuff is moving okay, but still very much in a buyer's focus market. Mm-hmm. Moving on, Steve. When you go out for dinner in Surrey, is there, like, when you walk up to a restaurant, is there like a green sign that says like pass on the front of a restaurant? You guys don't have that? No,
we don't have your crazy, ridiculous Toronto rules. Oh, this is a green light restaurant. This is a red light restaurant. Get out of here.
So how do you know? How do you know you're not like eating food that's been contaminated and there's a rat running? There's ratatouille in the kitchen cooking up your...
rats in every restaurant. So don't think there's not rats in every restaurant, or mice at least. Maybe not rats.
Well, but how do you know they're not like cleaning the kitchen at night that you're ordering from, or doing things the proper way? Aren't you worried when you order food that it could make you sick if it's not done under the correct codes?
They're definitely not making it the right way, doing the correct codes. And that's how the restaurant, anybody that is doing it to that standard is probably out of business because they're spending so much time cleaning their kitchen. I don't know. You go there. If you like the food, you go back. If you don't like the food, you don't go back. I don't know what to tell you. I don't think we need to spend any government, city taxes, money, any of that crap like Toronto does. Olivia Chow and all the other crappy mayors you've ever had that have spent money on putting green stickers on the front of windows, because who's going to put up the red sticker?
Well, they don't. It's usually the red sticker. They're just shut down. And when it's a yellow, you're like, probably not walking into that place. But if you hate Dine Safe, you're going to love the next topic that we're going to talk about
Dine
today.
Safe.
That's what it's called. Dine Safe.
Toronto losers.
Listen to this. Councillors are bringing back a debate over a Dine Safe-like color-coded system for Toronto apartment buildings. So, just like we have it for restaurants, the idea would be for these large apartment buildings and to fall under, they call it Rent Safe program, which has actually been in place since 2017. And landlords of buildings with 3 or more stories or 10 or more units have to register with the city and pay a fee if that's what you qualify in. Mm-hmm. But now they're having a discussion to bring a Dine Safe-like program to rental buildings, where you everyone can kind of visually think what this looks like on the window, the pass or the warning or the fail. The idea is they want to do this on the front of apartment buildings. And on the surface level, this is good, right? Like, people should not, I'm not even going to say what Steve's going to think. I'm just going to I'll bring it to him next. On the surface level, let's give people good accommodations. Let's make sure there's not cockroaches and the landlords actually do what they need to do and people aren't living in terrible rent conditions that they eventually go on a rent strike. And like, let's just make sure they have reasonable conditions and that in the summer heat wave, they're not like cooking in their units, right? That there's like something going on. The AC's working, things are happening. So this is something that I guarantee is going to pass, but it's only going to be for these apartment buildings or likely the new purpose-built rentals. This will not be for condo buildings. You cannot put this on every individual landlord and put it on a condo building. It's only going to be for the ones that are run by one big company. Now, Steve, I know what you're already thinking is how much money is this going to cost? How much time is it going to be involved? What are we spending on this? And will my property taxes in Toronto go up to fund this system? And the answer is probably yes. What do you think about this potential rent-safe system that creates opportunities for renters to know if buildings are good or bad? And do you feel like it will now create a two-tier system where you have rent-safe for the purpose-built rentals, but then it's just like, you don't know, it's a huge question mark if you're renting from a condo landlord where they're not under the same regulations?
Can we put a dine safe or rent safe type system on City Hall? Like right at the front door or on the mayor's office?
We should be regulating the councillors.
Because this one's red and should be shut down, right? Like this, Olivia Chow, red, get out of here. What a waste of time and energy. I don't know. I think it's such, then what? Right? Like what is the outcome? So you're going to be like, okay, well, I'm poor, so I guess I better look for the red ones. I'm poor.
Well, that's what people are saying.
The yellow ones, right?
That's what people are saying.
Out of here. So stupid. I want to go put a big notice right on City Hall right now. Do not enter. May not be safe. Your brain's going to be fried as soon as you get voted into council. Like, get out of here. Just a waste of time. They're looking for something to do.
Every decision that's been made in the city of Toronto recently regarding anything housing policy or rental. There's even the new like rent eviction one that's to protect renters even more. Which like, again, if landlords are doing things illegally, then they should not be allowed to do those things. And probably this conversation started because of there's a few like notorious rental buildings in Toronto that have issues, that there is ongoing rent strikes going on right now, whatever if we believe that's right or not, because landlords are just not doing anything. So if you're a renter and you are never going to buy a property in your life, because there are many, many Canadians that are going to fall into that category, whether it be by choice, whether it just be by the fact that they cannot qualify, don't you at least want your accommodations to know, or don't you want to at least know that your accommodations are going to be taken care of, that are going to be somewhat controlled, that you're not going to be stuck in a really terrible living situation where if you complain, nothing happens. And you're so scared to move because it would probably just cost more to move.
If they're so bad, the city of Toronto should go in, condemn the building, and kick all those renters out.
Well, they'd renovate and then give them back to the renters, but then they'd want it at the same price, and then that's probably like the issue, right?
It's stupid. It's a big, stupid waste of time and energy, which is what the city of Toronto seems to like to do. So I don't know. I think it's ridiculous. Like, shouldn't even be a discussion.
Do you guys have nothing in where you live about restaurants or like health code stuff? Like, there's nothing.
I'm sure there's health codes. I'm sure there's health inspectors, but there's not like
codes
a big
in Surrey.
Smiley face on the front window. We gotta go all clear.
It should just be a thumbs up or a thumbs down on the window.
Yeah, and then okay, so you're gonna display the yellow one. Guess where my sandwich board or my menu or my hours are going to be displayed, right? Like, come on, get out of here.
This episode of the Tom Storey Show is brought to you by Karrasch and Dunlop. Real estate agents, you spend months, if not years, earning your clients' trust. You don't want to lose it on inspection day. For over 45 years, top agents across Canada have relied on Karrasch and Dunlop for home inspections that are clear, calm, and client first. Their inspections don't just find issues, they know how to explain them in a way that will protect your client and your credibility. If you haven't worked with Karrasch and Dunlop yet, now is the time to find out why Canada's best trust Karrasch and Dunlop for home inspections. You can learn more at karrashanddunlop.com. I will also tell you, in the Toronto real estate market, whenever I see a pre-home inspection by Carson Dunlop, I know my buyers can trust it. And Carson Dunlop is a company we've used so many times over the years for our buyers and sellers. CarsonDunlop.com. And now back to the podcast. But
oh, look, we got a yellow, huh? Like, are you going to advertise that? Get out of here.
well, there's reports that come out by DineSafe in Toronto. I don't know if it's a monthly basis or quarterly, but they will literally show a list of all the restaurants that did not pass or got warnings and exactly the reason why. So you can read through and be like, oh, damn, I ordered from that wings place like 3 weeks ago and they had a kitchen issue or something. That, like, as a consumer, I appreciate that. How much money does DineSafe cost to run for the city? I don't know.
17 billion, apparently 100% of the development fees being charged this year. So
there's no development fees this year.
Good, run a deficit. We're good at that too. It's really silly. I think to think that restaurants in the back aren't way grosser than we think they are is living with your head in the sky. And let me tell you, when people complain about restaurants, and I'm sure a lot of them are gross, I walk into a lot of people's homes that are a lot grosser than a lot of restaurants I go into.
Should we do this for individual residences as well? Your home has to be an own safe program for the next buyer of your home. There has to be.
Tell you what, the listing needs to have a colored sticker on it for what condition or how much dirt or dog poo is on the carpets. Like, I used to work, so you don't know this. I used to work.
You're giving them ideas
in the food industry because I used to fix things like chicken ovens, like deep fryers, and do all that sort of stuff. I was in food equipment. And yeah, you come across some gross stuff. And most of the time, you don't come across gross stuff. Mm. I mean, if you're buying your chicken wings from the corner store, I got news for you. Right? If you really want to, like, I can rate which grocery stores I shop at versus which ones I do not shop at. Right? Like, I know which ones are there. So they need to do it for grocery stores next. Let me tell you, a Real Canadian Superstore would be a massive fail if it was up to me. They're probably going to sue me if they ever listen to this. But
you should have a Steve ranking system. You should put a list together for your
Costco
followers.
Was phenomenal. Safeway back in the day was phenomenal. Save on Foods got worse. Right? So it was just, I knew where to shop. I don't think that ever stopped anybody from shopping at Real Canadian Superstore because it was the cheapest one. So Condo, Clear, whatever you want to call it, Condo, preferred, happy face, green sticker, red sticker, stupid.
Wasn't there something in BC about mandatory home inspections or something that they were trying to pass that didn't get passed? Am I making that up, or that was a thing that they were trying to, right? That's essentially what we're talking about, right?
I think it was mandatory time for an inspection.
Okay.
And then they brought in the cooling off period. So
there was basically the same thing under a different name. There was something in Ontario at some point that they were trying to make it for sellers. There was some energy. I'm blanking on what it was, but that got shut down pretty quick. Basically saying, like, you can't force sellers to do things to sell their properties. They should be able to choose. But let us know in the comments, what do you think of if this potential rent safe system is put into place in the city of Toronto? Because I'm pretty certain it will be. If you're a renter, do you like this? Are you worried that this could cause an issue in terms of a two-tier system where you have the buildings with yellows or reds where you know you can go there and get cheaper rent and you don't care about the other stuff just to get the cheapest available option? Or the fact that individual landlords still, there's really no way other than like maybe Reddit or something to know if you've had a bad experience with the individual landlord? Let us know in the comments below.
Oh, I will say I have found, I was talking to a company. I don't think the sponsorship's going to work out, but I really like their services. And they are offering an ability for a very affordable ability for landlords to report on the credit bureau now to the tenants of the tenants. So it's I'm for sure going to use it. And it's just like you get a credit report when you screen them and everything. But if they pay rent late or whatever, you can then report them. And I think it's like $200 a year or something. So it's actually super affordable. So it's actually one of those things when you're screening people, you can let them know like, hey, I will be reporting. So if you pay me your rent, your credit will get better. Right. If you don't pay me your rent, your credit will get worse. And I think it's actually a really cool service.
Isn't that, wasn't that one of the things that came out from the I think it was still when JT was with the Liberals. There was something about how renters' payments would go towards their credit. No, you know what I mean, though. Do we want to talk about who he's dating?
My kids went to the Katy Perry concert here in Vancouver, and then
was JT there?
No, that news story came out 2 or 3 days later, and my youngest, who's 8 years old, looks at me and goes, "What?" She's like, "I think I have to she said something like, "I think I have to reanalyze my choices," or something, or like she was
8-year-old said that.
Oh no! Oh yeah, she was furious at Katy Perry. She was like, "How I didn't realize she was so stupid."
Well, you know what's funny?
8-year-old said that.
Is we rarely talk about anything like celebrity on this show, but you went into a rant one episode about the going to space thing, and we talked about Katy Perry and how frustrated you were with that. I've never seen you more frustrated than when you were talking about JT with certain things, and it's just pure magic that they've come together. Two people.
Two fucking space cadets, man. They're matched for each other. They're perfect.
Okay. All right. Well, let's move on to another story that's coming out from a group of Canadian developers, Steve. These developers collectively make up 55% of where the new housing starts in Canada are going to come from. And the reality is that right now you can spin it any way you want. Developers in Canada, specifically the biggest markets like Toronto and Vancouver, they are treading water. They're trying to keep the lights on. They're trying to see what they can build next. They are trying to see, should they flip their strategy and just build a few purpose-built rentals to make sure that people are still doing things because they can't launch the condo projects right now. They can't really bring down the prices on the condo projects to launch because they've spent so much money on the land when the values are going up on the land as well. There's all these different variables for what is going on, and they're trying to find solutions that the government can do to essentially, you can put it whatever way you want, kind of bail them out. How are you going to help us continue to do this? Because yes, we went through a boom there, but there's nothing going on right now. And if this continues, it's going to be a problem in 5 years from now, right? Mm-hmm. We can all laugh at the investors losing their money now because the internet loves to do that, and speculators deserve everything they got, and realtors are the problem. We can go through all that, right? And there's valid points in all of that as well. But it is true that if we build nothing, at some point, this is going to become an issue. So they had talked about, you know how the new, the HST thing isn't retroactive. It's like to new purchases, which doesn't help all the other people. I think that's one of the things that they had asked for. But the other thing that they asked for is something that we brought up on the show so many times, and no one will really give us a clear answer on it. They've just basically said publicly, like, you need to allow foreign buyers to buy new construction properties to help us get to a point that we can build. They are now saying to the government, like, you got to help us out. You got to do something. We can't launch these things. Doors are going to close. Someone that I knew that worked for one of the biggest Toronto marketing companies that worked for the developers, that was there for a long time, moved to a new company and actually called me recently. Really, really nice guy I've worked with before. And he'd even said, he's like, can I send you information on this project? I'm like, listen, man, you can send it, but like, I'm not going to probably send this to my clients because I just don't believe in it. And the next thing that they said was, well, do you want to hear about the commission that we're paying? Mm-hmm. I was like, actually, not really, but it was 6%. But I'd rather go do my regular stuff that helps me sleep at night. So foreign buyers being allowed to buy new construction is a conversation we've had on the show a few times. Seems to be, at least in the comments that I've seen on not just our videos, but most people are against the idea because foreign buyers were at least looked at as the problem. But we've also been told many times by reports that foreign buyers also only make up like 5% of the purchases. So even if we let them buy pre-construction, does that even get us to a point that we can build these buildings? Steve, what do you think about this group of home builders coming together and basically saying to the government, like, hey guys, come and save us because there's nothing we can do right now?
Yeah, because they definitely don't want to change their business model. right? Like if you change the business model, if you can find a way to change the business model, you don't need it. But nobody wants to change the business model. They just want to go back to the system that was working for them before. So I do think like there's a very prominent, probably the biggest sales team or whatever you want to call them here for pre-construction in Vancouver. And the owner, the principal there is as connected to the Liberal Party as you can get, right? Like he'll publicly come out and say it and all that sort of stuff. So as a result, like I was at a speech where his whole thing was to be there to motivate the realtors and then talked about how much he loved Mark Carney. And a very wealthy man. So if he's saying it, and I believe their company is one of the ones that is saying it, they're getting lobbied federally, and the foreign buyer, there's no way the foreign buyer ban, at least on pre-construction, doesn't go away. Then we have a problem here in BC and Toronto of the tax, of which is still a foreign buyer ban because nobody's going to pay 20% on it. You're already paying 30%, right? So you got to deal with that. But why isn't, so it will go away. Politically, it's going to be like one of those things, like they'll wait for a war to break out and then they'll announce it like that day and then on a Friday afternoon and then nobody will remember by Monday. But why not change the business model? Why not look for a solution that is different than as many high rises as we can get with somebody else's money? And I think you have to do that.
But the risk involved to start building without knowing if someone's willing to buy it and the change in potential market conditions during that time of building, I just think it's probably too large for the developers. They're like, it's just not, we can't take that risk. Maybe
for what they're building in Toronto, if they're building, if they're building 3 or 4 story condos in suburbs, of which could be 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units, anywhere from 500 to 1,500 square feet, and the build out only takes 2 years, and you're only doing 55 units. It's a different thing. But our solution has to be: how high can we go? How small can we get? Like the system that was there has proven that it had a peak and is not resilient to the economy. So you need a new system, and I don't think they're exploring that to the level they should be.
I just don't know how they can explore it because even if they had the money to do it, the risk, most don't have the money to start building without selling out units, without getting deposits, because they need to get the financing. So, so it's not even that they're not open to potentially changing the system. It's that the banks have to be open to giving them money to start building. The entire system has to change, not just the developers are one part of it, but even if they're like, okay, we're open to start building, but hey, bank, you got to give us the money now. And actually we haven't sold anything yet, but we think people are going to like these ones, and we're going to build the ones that we think people are going to like. That's a massive risk.
Or multiplex, smaller developments, more spread out developments, right? Like this is only a high rise 50-story tall, condo problem in Toronto and in Vancouver. It's not everywhere else where these guys do other things. Like there's probably the same financing for 4-story condos, but if you have a 2-year project to build a 4-story condo that's 100 units, that's a lot different than 400 units in a 50 square foot footprint that goes up 7,000 stories for some reason, right? It's a totally different thing.
Actually, another thing that they put in their letter here was that they wanted the city to directly charge the development fees to the buyer instead of going through the developer. And I know you probably think that sounds ridiculous, but the way that it works now is like we have it capped. So it's like you can get, you have it capped. You have a realtor that is actually helping you buy pre-construction. If you just walk into there, you can usually get the development fees capped when you're buying new construction.
Your mic cut out there for a second.
Did it cut out? Am I back?
No, you're good. You're back now, but it cut out there for a second. Maybe it just cut out for me. Probably one of those better mics. Anyway,
probably didn't say anything interesting anyways.
For tenant, landlord, or homeowner insurance policies, go to squareone.ca/the Tom Storey Show. Use the link in the description. Save $20 when you start your free quote right now.
But the development fees, they're saying, hey, just give us an exact amount per a purchase price or whatever it is that the person buying knows what they're going to be. Stop making it a mystery. We find out on closing, and then it goes to the developer, and then they charge the purchaser Just make it all clear up front, more transparency on what their fees
And
are going to be.
How about that? How about when you sign the contract, there's a line, like we have all these lines broken out about who's going where, what commission's being paid. We got all this different stuff going on. How about how much of your property is going direct in fees and taxes, development, whatever, to the city? Why? Because then there would be an uproar. It's the exact same reason we don't remit our own income tax ourselves. If you got a check for whatever, $3,500 every 2 weeks, and you had to give $1,500 every 2 weeks to the government, there would be an uproar. But if your company remits it for you,
I get talking about. That's what self-employed people do all the time. You prepay all your.
And why do you think
what my life is?
People, self-employed people are all conservative. No shit. Oh, man. Well,
let us know what you guys think about this potential of foreign buyers being allowed to buy new construction to get these properties off the ground. I think, if you're doing this, it's just because we're just selling to another type of investor, and we're going to get the same.
We're saying
investor.
we have to prop it up. We're saying we have to prop it up.
That's what they're asking for. They're basically saying, I think, because
I need the morons from over there.
I did a CBC thing where I gave some quote. And then I watched the video and I was like quickly in the middle of it, but the lady at the end was part of this conversation. She's like, you got to give us something so we can do something. She's basically like, well, we can't do anything. So you guys got to help us out here. So will be interesting to see.
Change your business model.
Moving on from condos to houses, I want to give you just a real life story that's going on here, actually outside Toronto in Brampton. Now, I don't sell homes in Brampton. If we have a client there, I'll refer them out to a great agent in that area. I am not a Brampton real estate expert, so I'll say that up front.
I am.
But Steve is. Steve will sell your home in Brampton. He will fly to Brampton and sell your home. But there was a house in Brampton, and we talk about it all the time. There's so many condos on the market, but there's not enough of the stuff that people actually want at the right price points for freehold properties. There was a house on the market in Brampton, and I don't track Brampton. I wasn't aware of this. An agent actually that I probably would guess listens to the podcast if she sent this to me, but she was like, check this out. And she had sent me a screenshot. She must have shown that property. And the screenshot said that the 42nd offer was registered on this house in Brampton. 42. Okay, so let's talk about this for a second. I took a look. The house was listed at $699. Again, I don't know what this house is worth. I don't know that area. I would assume that this house was listed at least 20% under what its value was, at least. So upfront, yes, this was not a real price. How many? I don't even know what it got to. Maybe it was over 50 offers at the end, but it was definitely over 40 when I got this notification. How many of those offers could have never paid the real value and were just wasting their time? Probably a lot of them. And what's interesting is I actually looked before the podcast smart. I was like, oh, I wonder what that sold for. It sold conditional. So they got over 40 offers and there wasn't a firm offer that they took. So maybe the price was so high on the conditional one. They're like, it's worth waiting 3 to 5 days. If not, we got 40 other people we can call back and get the next one. Why I'm bringing this up is not to tell you that housing is back and everything's changing. It's going to get hot again. None of that. What I'm saying that is interesting to me is that, yes, all these things are true. This was listed low, probably wasted a lot of buyers' time, but you still don't get that many offers unless there's people actively looking. And that's what, like, this strategy that they used, although I get why so many people are frustrated by it, probably at the end of the day, when we end up seeing the sale price, you might argue, wow, they actually got a little bit higher than they would have if they just listed on the market by getting that many people through the door. But I'm more just interested in the fact that it worked. That there was actually enough people willing to play this game, that we've been through these shenanigans before. And if you get over 40 offers, you really had to price the home low. Even in the hottest market ever, I think the highest I ever got was 27 offers on something at like the absolute peak of stupidness. You must have really, really had to go low. But if you're a seller and you have two options, you can sell a house, you can sell a car, you can sell your phone on eBay, and you have two options. Say, Steve, your first option is we can list it what we think it's worth, and we'll probably be able to get it for you in 3 weeks. Or option number two, Steve, we're going to grab everyone's attention. We're going to go at 60% of value of your phone. We're going to put it on eBay. We're going to get people to bid on it. And you're going to get a lot of bids you don't like. A lot of bids are going to be crappy. but it's going to create so much more momentum and emotion that there is a possibility that using this strategy, although it is slightly riskier, could yield a better result for you. Which one would you like to do? What would you choose?
You know me, man. I hate the underpricing.
I know, but
I absolutely hate it.
But take that away for a sec. We hate it because it's a house and shelter is the big, like everything surrounding housing is so controversial because it is shelter. And people believe that it either is or is not a human right to have, we're not going to get into that right now, but it's people are so passionate about housing because it is housing. When this stuff happens with sports cards or whatever, it's like, and whatever, just a collector buying something. But if you're
we need an update, though. I think we need to know what it sells for, and then you do a quick and dirty CMA on it after the fact and find out.
I'll call someone I know in Brampton.
Could all be pointless. Could all be, I don't know.
Well, it's sold conditional.
It's sold conditional, so that means they probably got a very high price, of which stands a 50-50 chance of actually getting financing for or less. And it's probably going to go back to the market to somebody that's going to sell unconditional next week for a much more realistic price. I bet you all but maybe 5 of those offers were under market value.
Probably. Yep. Yeah.
So
I agree.
What a waste of time. I think the solution there, I've said it before and I'll say it again, realtors do not get paid anything more than the list price. So you only get your percentage of commission based on list price. That. And then anything over, you can market it that way, but anything over you don't get paid for. So it will stop underpricing. I think underpricing is unfair to the marketplace. And you know me, I think
I'm actually shocked you have this opinion. I'm shocked you have this opinion.
I just think it's purposefully misleading, and that is, we should not have purposefully misleading in our but in our industry.
It's not purposely misleading because it's very clear. It states on the listing that there is an offer date on this property, and every buyer, well, they'll find out pretty quick when they call their realtor. And that happens all the time. Clients like, what's the deal with this one? I'm like, that's not a real price. Their offer date's next week.
It is basically saying, or you do the thing where, you know what? If you get any offer above this and it's clean, you have to take the highest, cleanest one or whatever. Like, there's got to be something. I find it damaging to the industry. I find it damaging to everybody. I don't think it should be done. I understand the strategy. I get it. But I don't, in the name of probably mostly damaging the industry. Because now there's 41 people that hate realtors.
41 more people. Just add them to the list.
More people. Yeah, there's a lot more than 41. Are you going to keep going? Because I really think we should, before we wrap, get to this massive, massive story that nobody's going to care about.
I'll save my other topics for another day. Let's get to your topic here. Okay,
so this week there was a ruling from the Supreme Court, one judge, not the whole Supreme Court, one judge at the Supreme Court of BC, that, get this, there is, I guess, a Indigenous, I don't know what we're allowed to call them now, band, tribe, whatever you want to call them, Indigenous First Nations group that filed to say that this area, this particularly fishing area and some of the lands around the fishing area in the Fraser River, belong to us.
Okay.
And this is called Lulu Island, right? Otherwise known as the City of Richmond. Okay, so the City of Richmond is made up of Sea Island, which is where the airport is.
Okay.
And then Lulu Island, which is the entire rest of basically.
Is Lulu Island, does it have a lot of homes on it that are privately owned?
It's the City of Richmond.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
It's like Mississauga.
Okay.
Right. But it's technically an island because the river runs on both sides of it.
Okay.
North and south. So I didn't even know it was called Lulu Island. I had to look on a map, where's Lulu Island? And it's the City of Richmond, minus Sea Island, which is the airport.
Got it.
So the BC Supreme Court judge ruled that Indigenous rights sit above fee simple and above Crown rights to the property.
Does that not just mean that every home they could just take back?
it sets a precedent that every single home that sits on soil that has a land claim against it or future land claim against it from First Nations would be forfeited to the First Nations. That is literally the land claim, and it is the entire, basically. Now, I don't know if it's sections of Lulu Island. They're talking about the specific spot, and it has, I think, like an Amazon warehouse on it, a FedEx warehouse on it, like all these, like, privately
so it's
owned
mostly
properties.
Commercial stuff we're talking about here that are on that land. It's not residential homes.
They didn't set a map of the actual claim from, well, I think it was like the Cowichan people or something. They didn't set that. So anyway, so this is like basically setting the rule that even above the Crown, even above the government of Canada, the Indigenous folks have the right to your land ahead of them, because you can always get, you know, your land taken away by the Crown if they needed some crazy reason for it. It's just the way our land title works. So basically, if this stands up, and it is being appealed, if this stands up, it's basically saying that property rights in British Columbia mean nothing. It's insane. And if you think that our Indigenous rights that are being executed here aren't the next thing to come to real estate in or the rest of Canada, you're very wrong. So now here's the other side of this. That judge ruled in favor of that First Nation, or whatever term I'm supposed to use. I apologize. Not only, so David Eby came out and said, well, we need to figure out our land claims through negotiation, not through court orders. A very David Eby thing to say. The Conservative Party came out and said, this has to stop because it abolishes property rights in the province. But believe it or not, the other First Nations, Musqueam and I can't remember the other one, I'm sorry. They came out and they're against it as well. Because why? Because what makes that, I think it's the Cowichan band, what makes that the Cowichan's land when that's just as much our fishing territory traditionally as those guys?
Right.
Right. So this is actually one of the biggest problems I see is when you have so many First Nations, like how do you iron that out, right? Like that's a big thing. But I just think like it's something that it was kind of touched on in the news, and it's one of those things that nobody will ever care about. But fundamentally, if it moves forward, it means you do not have property rights in British Columbia as a property owner. And neither does the government. It's crazy.
Can I give you a thought on this?
Please.
Are you saying that people that own their land don't like the fact that it's being potentially taken away from them?
I'm saying, okay, here, I've thought a lot about this.
Okay.
If you end up perpetuating trying to find out who owns the land from historical means, eventually you end up with Israel-Palestine. That's not a good place to go to. The problem we're going to have here is like reconciliation is an endless problem that's never going to find a solution in our country. This isn't going to help it. And that's actually one of the things that was brought up by many people on both sides that was saying, like, listen, this is actually going to set, if indeed you have First Nations that start making claims on private citizens' property, the pathway we've made towards reconciliation is just going to be raked through the coals. Like it's going to be done. And you're going to have people start to turn on each other. Right? So I get what you're saying. I understand that. I have my opinions on it. I'm just saying, like, it is crazy to think that we can have that. And David Eby even came out and said, like, listen, this can't stand, or he didn't say that. He said, this is troublesome because you think a bank's going to lend on any property in British Columbia if...
Right. No, of course not.
Anybody's going to start, like, this can absolutely collapse the entire...
bring down the value of the homes by 50% immediately.
Yeah. Right? And if it stands, then it sets precedent. And now moving forward, this is the way it will be. So it's a massive, huge, colossal thing that nobody's going to pay attention to and care about. That's probably why we had to talk about this late in the podcast. But it is such a fundamental term of property ownership and what could change that it should not be ignored. And let's not construe this with, racism or other stuff or prejudices or anything like that. This is just a fundamental change to the way our society works. And if it stands, I don't know. I don't know what could happen. It would be terrible.
Well, let us know what you think about that, because that's the first that's the first that I've heard about that. We appreciate you all listening to this week's episode, and let us know as well, please. I know I've been asking you a lot to let us know what you think about the stories, but I really want the engagement to continue to grow on this podcast. Did you like the way that we ran this show? It was a bit more structured than normal in terms of the way that we did it. Give us your feedback, your thoughts. We're going to try this for the next few catch-up episodes. But if you don't like it, we'll change it. But we just think it's maybe a nicer, smoother way to run the show. Steve, final thoughts?
Do you have anything happy to end it on after I just went on my rant?
Well, I'm going to the Blue Jays game today with everyone from my office.
Wearing your son's shirt. I appreciate that.
No, this is a real vintage. Got this from a vintage store.
I got to send you one of these.
Yeah. Speaking about copyright infringement, you can get one of Steve's shirts. Thank you guys for listening this week. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next week. Bye.
I believe it's called parody. It's not called copy.